Alright, what up guys? So in this video I'm going to document my analysis on what's happening with the price of Bitcoin right now. I just want to make a point that I haven't posted in a while because I've been doing really well, and then all of a sudden like in between the breaks of me not posting for too long, I get really cocky, and then I get ahead of myself, and then you lose sight on fundamentals. You think you know the market, but you don't. Like, it's easy until you get ahead of yourself, then you become the problem. And that's what I ran into. I was able to have my first ever profitable month last month, and 2 days from now will be my birthday. And this month I've been unprofitable because of my negligence. So it's really simple. I started doing a lot of really good plays here at this point, and then I got really cocky and ahead of myself, and I started losing out on all of this. You know what I mean? If you use ICC, let me go back to what's really important. If you use ICC, right, and you use time frame correlations, and you make sure to prioritize higher time frames, the 4 hour, the daily, hell, even the weekly, because we closed on a higher low. Essentially, like, in a day and 5 hours, it's not dropping 3K unless we see a, let's use this measuring tool, 3.7%. Hell, use this wick right here, for instance, 7% on a weekly, right? It could, would you really take that into consideration considering there's less than a day left? I don't know if that would be you, but I'd understand that because the daily's made a higher low compared to this region. Uh, this could count as an indication. However, at the same time, we're not using this point of measure where price is right now. We're not using this point as a reference point for the daily trend. No, we're actually using the current market structure that was built over the previous week or two to confirm a trend. Now, this entire movement up this is still a daily uptrend. Every single time correlation up till this point was considered an uptrend, besides the weekly. Like, you don't need to look in deep to understand how price moves whenever you see literally a straight line up like this. This is clearly an uptrend. Then you had some cracks. Guess what? It's an indication. If we're using ICC, the chart on the time frame is still on an uptrend. This is just hinting at a possible downtrend, but it didn't. Guess what? It ate over all those losses and just kept going higher. Where I messed up, where I got cocky, was I completely ignored the fucking 4 hour, and that completely ruined uh my my results for the month. I was doing profitable up until I ignored the 4 hour, right? And this was a big mistake of mine using ICC this year, is using this movement right here to eliminate all profits, all gains, because I thought I could outsmart the market. Up until this point, I was just using the 1 hour. Hell, when it came to like this area, I was using the 15 minute solely. That's terrible. That is terrible. We're not using ICT methods. We're not using 5 minute, 15 minute low time frame methods. No, we're using alignment across all time frames. If you are trying to swing trade using ICC, you need to line up everything, because you want to, if you're swing trading, you want to protect your trade, your entry, as much as possible, right? You want to get the best returns. Like, ICC would have worked right around here. You know why? Because this move right here on the 1 hour, 15 minute, 5 minute refreshed everything. Refreshed everything. This movement right here, this price movement, determined everything we needed to start aligning the time frames to create the huge profitable gains. Had I just stuck around and made a swing trade then, we would still be in this play. I promise you. I'm still fresh in this strategy, or in this method of trading, so I don't understand a lot of things deep in my, like when I see it, when it's easy to see when you backtest, right? And when you're an experienced, like when you've done the trading and you've gone through all the losses, like, you get scared of the extra profits because you don't understand. Like, it's possible, but you don't understand it because it's never happened to you, if that makes sense. Like, I held out my first trade on this bullish turnaround, I held out to here and I sold. Like when it got to like this high. When to be honest with you, the 4 hour just proved to us that this was just an indication, right? And if you were just playing on off the 1 hour, this was it. This was all you would have gained on. Whereas if you held for the 4 hour, this would be a correction. The correction would have had a positive turnaround on the lower time frame. So around here, I would say the 15-minute was when it turned bullish. Yeah, because look at this. If we wanted to catch the higher gains off and play off the 4 hour, we would have had to catch. This was a bearish movement right here. We would have had to play off the 15-minute and see how it becomes a uptrend. Right, the 1 hour, it doesn't really show you that. You don't look at it in that direction. You don't look at it the same way as you do in the 15-minute, not necessarily. Sometimes it's not as plain and simple as, these lines that I just displayed. Sometimes you have to use different time frame correlations to make it make sense, to confirm the trend. So like it will look like this in a let me use an example. Like it will look like this on the 1 hour, right? But to be honest with you, if you use the 4 hour and then you matched it with the 1 hour, it would look something like, let me switch over here. This is a perfect example right here. Let me just mark this so I don't lose sight of what I'm looking at. If you use the 1 hour, right? This price movement, let's use this bearish price movement, for example. This 1 hour was the indication. This right here is the correction, right? Because this was the low to this area, this was the continuation. And because it did another indication to the downtrend, it didn't go past this low, which made it technically a higher low, which means it's keeping the 4 hour on a uptrend movement, right? Because over here we went past this lower low during the bearish downtrend, which gave us an indication in this. Let me take off the screen now. This entire price movement from this point from A to B was the indication. So it's not always as simple as all these jitters in between when you're looking at the 1 hour. Sometimes you have to mix and match with the 4 hour. You see like right here, like look at this. Lower low, lower high, lower low. Breaks out on the 4 hour indication. This entire movement right here on the 4 hour was a bunch of jitter on the 1 hour. This was the correction. Here's the crazy part, remember? With the confirmations, as soon as the trend confirmed an uptrend on the 4 hour over here, the correction stage made this low in which price respected because it confirmed the uptrend. And from this point on, it respected that low. And because it continued to respect the uptrend, it never disrespected the low afterwards. This low was respected. This low was respected. Does that make sense? It was up until this point where we started seeing disrespect to the uptrend on the 4 hour, and definitely most likely just straight up bearish movement on the 1 hour because we're looking at the 4 hour, correct? Get rid of these. So after explaining all this, that's basically what ICC is. If you're swing trading, you need to use every time frame. I lost all my profits from this month because I ignored the 4 hour, and because I ignored the 4 hour and I only decided to capitalize on certain movements on the uptrend, and I let this price movement get the best of me, right? I bought like around here and I sold like around here. Cool, right? Cool. 4 hour. Look at this. 4 hour was confirmed down here. Remember that. Look. Higher highs, higher lows. That's when it really started to make the jump here, because this was an indication on the 1 hour. This was a indication on the 4 hour. Respects this low. As you can see, we're not following wicks, we're following body candles. Or yeah, we're following candles, like whole candles. Respects this low and makes the high. That confirms the uptrend. Then we break through this high, which was the daily high level, which we broke through. and then we confirmed the uptrend on the daily. So that's when we started making movement to get to the next daily high, the next daily high level, right? And this movement was based off of macro news, right? Even with that being said, this is the 4-hour time frame. This was just an indication, nothing else. If we're looking at wicks, my stop loss was to get to this point. I think was around. I don't remember exactly where my entry was. I think it was around here for like a different trade. So it was like 2 trades in total. So it was a trade down here. I need to look back at my entries, but yeah, there was a trade. I made like 2 or 3 trades here. I was like taking micro trades when the whole trend itself was the macro trade. It's because I didn't trust the higher time frame, and that's why I lost out, right? And when the war news broke out, the stop loss for me was right here. I sold up here. Price respected the bottom wick and then immediately bounced back. There was no movement here on the 4-hour. There's none of this. It was literally just an indication continuation, which is insane, but that was an eye-opener for me. So I'm making this video to not only confront myself and correct myself and document myself, but to show that ICC works the entire way through. If you, as long as you're respecting the higher time frame, like the higher time frame is going to show you what you need. If you decide to walk away, you're walking away for the long run. Like, trust me, when that happened and I dipped, not only did I lose money, I missed out on this entire movement. Bitcoin made a shit ton of money on this way up and made damn near 10% on just price action alone. And you didn't have to leverage. That would have been 10% of your report off rip. So, like I said, this video is just to document what I did, how I'm reflecting on it, and what to do now. So, there is no play. Let me make this clear. When nothing is showing you a setup, there is no play. So don't fucking play it, right? Weekly is gonna make a higher high. Weekly already made a higher low. This on the macro is an uptrend, which means we could start seeing levels back to 90,000 if the weekly decides to build structure up here, right? And it respects these lows. It could go down here, right? The weekly could literally shoot back in the 60s. I would suggest that based off of fundamentals and technicals, if the weekly candles, meaning a month or 2 from now, if Bitcoin respects the 60,000 range, we should be seeing a bull candle back to these levels, to 90,000. In which case, the juiciest time to enter would be in the daily and 4-hour, which would give us a lot of structure here for our entry, which would then build us a case to set up along somewhere around here and just capitalize off of the crazy returns. Like, it could be a 1 to 3, it could be a 1 to 5, 1 to 10. You never know. You just have to time it perfectly. And it's like it in hindsight, it might sound difficult to do because you run into your own problems. And like, I have to build trust in the system, and that requires embracing the fact that I might be in the red to make more green, right? And that goes for any trader. Like, you got to be in the red to make more green if you trust your setup, and and your strategy is a proven winning method, so you don't have anything to worry about. Price action right now is still showing an uptrend. In fact, if we look here, this little pattern I noticed, which I drew out here, it actually broke out of this and is making higher highs still. And let's not even focus on the highs. How about we focus on the lows? Check this out. Price came down here let's use the 4-hour alone. Comes up, makes a new higher low, makes a lower high, but guess what? This is where ICC comes in. Respects this low and makes a low here. Notice that the wick swept everyone here. When there's sweeps are money grabs for more setups in order to make bigger plays. Like, a sweep here is a gain here, if that makes sense. I noticed when there is consolidation, like this for example, Sweeps here, sweeps here. You're stealing money. Then you break out and make the big plays. Then the volume comes, right? The volume here off of this humongous play gave room to the volume here on this humongous play. Do you notice how the market gives and takes? When I notice this, my rule is if there's consolidation, get ready for takeouts, get ready for sweeps. ICC protects you from all of this because if you strictly especially under consolidation phases, strictly enter off of ICC, if you like, let's use this place for example, daily and 4 hours on an uptrend, market's made a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, right? This probably on the 1 hour was a consolidation phase. Yep, there we go. So there's a bunch of zigzagging going on. People thought this was time for breakout, sold. People thought this was time for breakout, sold, right? Over here, if you can see where my mouse is, this was a downtrend on the 1 hour. Then the 1 hour gets an indication here because we're playing off the most recent lower high if it's a bearish trend, right? We're playing off the recent lower high. Market makes a higher low and a higher high. Here, higher high, higher low for a possible uptrend. This is the ICC. This is the indication. This range is ICC. This right here, these two candles, check the 15-minute. Go back here. Notice if you can see it, because I know it's gray. I know everything looks the same in terms of color, but just pay close attention. This, go back. Correction. Okay, indication. So this gray box, as soon as it comes down under this gray box, that's the correction phase. Let's zoom in on the 15-minute. The same one? No, it's over here. Remember the grayer box, right? Gray box shows a sweep, sweeps out a lot of these levels. That's not what you need to pay attention to because it's not what ICC is all about. I checked the 5-minute. 5-minute. What the hell is the 5-minute doing? Is this the same one? No, it's over here. 5-minute. Guess what? This is the low. This is the high. This is the lower. This is the higher low. This is the higher high. This broke out of all of this, right? If you're using ICC, you probably got in around here or around here, I think, because of the gap. We're not playing off ICT. We're playing off of confirmations because of ICC. This is the higher low. This move right here, as soon as it came up here, this confirmed everything off the 5-minute. We didn't get information on the 15-minute. It was just a big price movement, right? But the 1 hour, that was the 1 hour shows respect to this low, and it makes an indication and shows respect to this low, and it comes back in the indication zone. This is the correction. 15-minute didn't even show us an uptrend, mind you. 5-minute showed us an uptrend a little bit too late. ICC can be very tricky, and if you don't see it, don't play it because it's, like I said, in the consolidation zone for the 4 hour. Why the fuck does it keep doing that? See? But notice how price respects the lows every time. So we broke out and targeted these highs. Hypothetically, if you got in here. I didn't do none of that. I got cocky. I lost out selling here and then just buying off of bullshit because I thought I could get away with it without the 4 hour. But let's focus back on this. Respects the low, right? Respects the low. Indication because we broke out the previous lower high, previous lower high on the bearish trend. Makes a correction, respects the low, closes back into the indication zone. Really, I would have not made this trade. Like, this one's tricky as hell. This would, to me personally, this would still count as a correction, and then we would already have missed out. But guess what? Even if we did miss out, this entire movement above here this entire movement right here is the indication of this movement, because this right here was the last bearish lower high, because this one respected this lower high. But then once we broke out, we did all the zigzagging, small correction, zoom in, breaks. Oh my god, look at this. Breaks out, 15-minute, higher high, higher low, higher high, breaks through this high. Makes a lower high, but check this out. This right here, this area, this already confirmed the uptrend on the 1 hour. Because we broke out from this level, we went back under this level, and this candle right here would have been no, not this candle. One of these candles, like this candle right here, would have been fair, in my opinion, because then this would constitute as a swing low, and then you would just retarget the highs, and that would be a crazy fucking play. And I was doing just that without the 4 hour in mind, and that's terrible. You're really gambling if you're just doing it without enough information. That is such a slight observation, because you would have had to catch that under like extremely like specific price movement, meaning there wasn't enough gradual price movement to incline more bullish movement, right, to catch these highs. And so my play was already like around here, and I sold it here because I noticed personally. I'm gonna tell you what I did in my head. I used this line for reference, right? When price made this high, I used this line for reference. It went here, then it went here. I said, yo, like I was just saying in my head, yo, why is this high close to this high compared to this high? Like this is a big jump. From here to here is a big jump. Here to here is a small jump. So I said, look, that looks kind of low. I'm gonna sell. And I should have stopped there. Right. I ignored price. It made this high on the 4 hour, but on the 1 hour, it just looks like bearish movement. I said, cool. I played all this. I think I made like 3 plays here. All else. Lost a shit ton of money. I was like, I know it's gonna go up. I know it's gonna go up. Oh, I know it's gonna go up. Boom, 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 boom. I'm like, okay, no, I know it's gonna go down because it did this. So I was trading, I was doing micro plays without the 4 hour in mind. So you see how price went here, which was the indication on the bearish trend. Price went here. So bearish, bearish, bearish. Lower high, lower low. Lower high, higher low. Lower high, lower low. Right? So I was like, bet. Let's just make a short play and target this low. Not even thinking about the 4 hour, because I'm getting greedy and cocky. Sweeps everything, takes out all my stop losses, breaks fucking highs. So the moral of this is, if you're going to make plays all based off of ICC, because it works 99%, not 99, 90% of the time it works. The 10% is based off of macro news, and nothing in the market is guaranteed. Hence why we set stop losses, right? ICC will always work as long as you use all the time frames, daily and weekly included if you can, if you're looking for those huge swing plays. Because guess what? A very calculated approach to this, like back testing this, a very, very calculated approach to this, if you use all time frames in consideration, would have set you up here, and you would still be in this trade. Why? Because you've still been making higher lows this entire time. 4 hour higher lows, daily higher lows, weekly higher lows. You would still be in this trade. And guess what? In theory, you would have peaked at an 18x had you respected the higher time frame. So, to wrap it up, I would be deep in the green if I understood and trusted ICC better. And that's a part of this whole process. I adopted this model in January. I fell for a lot of inexperience with the model. January, February, I was net loss. March, I locked in, secured profits, my first ever profitable month. April, I got too cocky with it. I said, look, I'm too good at this. I don't need the 4 hour. And it bit me in the ass. It's in the middle of April, a little bit past May. We understand it. We're going to be disciplined. We're going to be humble. And we're going to respect the time frames. We're going to respect price movement. Let's talk about Bitcoin before we end the video. Where is price going right now? We are noticing a down candle within the next 4 hours. I would like to suggest that you don't need this level right here. You don't necessarily need this level right here if you want to enter a trade right now. I mean, sure, like we got past this. If the daily decides to come down from here, from this level, and builds a higher low around here, in the 1 hour and 4 hour, if they both confirm an uptrend, I would look for a play personally, because I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just documenting the place. If the daily comes down here and the 1 hour, 4 hour, right around here, confirms the uptrend. What do I mean when I say confirm? When the candles close. When they close, I would get in right here. Boom, 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 boom. Respect, respect, respect. And then prediction off of risk calculation. And then I would set my stop loss on the lower highs. I'm sorry, on the higher lows. And I would target for the daily. I would target as far as up here until I see time frames being disrespected, and then bearish trends confirm on the higher time frames, because the 15 minute and 5 minute don't matter in this case. They don't matter. If you're looking for the 1 hour uptrend, they will matter. If you're looking for the 4 hour uptrend, the 1 hour is going to matter. Daily, 4 hours is going to matter. Weekly, daily is going to matter. So on and so forth. And it takes time. But guess what? Profits take time too. If you're using macro, higher time frames, profits will take time. See that? It takes time. This entire movement up from where I was looking at the shit up until now, had I not sold, would have taken 19 days. The entire month of April has been bullish. Trust the daily time frame. Trust the high time frame. And you will win.